Electricity workers have suspended their one-day strike that actually started at the 15th hour of yesterday that lasted for about 3 to 5 hours, keeping the entire nation in blackout. You're welcome to the Dailies on Echo Television International, and I'm Sarah Elisha Dasham. And with me is Owolabi Tosin.
Good morning, Sarah.
Morning, how are you doing, Tosin?
I'm good, and you?
How was the blackout yesterday?
It was a bad experience, but the good thing is that the light was restored in the early hours of this morning, and we just hope that whatever meeting they've had and decision they had to resolve the ongoing strike, we just hope that it lasts forever, and also they tackle the situation concerning the salaries and even areas of staff.
Of course, too soon. Well, we'll just go through the papers and see what the stories have. Remember, we are live on Facebook and also on YouTube, so do well to drop your comment. Let us know, how did the blackout affected you yesterday? If you're a business person, no matter how little it is, we'd like to hear your feedbacks at 9:30, where we'll open our phone lines. And I'll be starting with the first paper, which is the Daily Independent. Why we are unable to generate the 5,000 megawatts of electricity. This is coming from the federal government. The writer following that story says Buhari to constitute NDDC board after release of white paper. FEC OK's additional 765 million naira to pay the NDDC forex auditors. The federal government has lamented that its inability to reach the target of the 5,000 megawatts of electricity on July 1st, 2022 was due to the shortage of gas supply, because if we could clearly remember, it was reflected on our papers around June that from 1st of July we will experience 24 hours light. And the federal government are giving us reasons why they are unable, because as of yesterday, the gas was shortage with below 7,000 megawatts, and we know that we really need the gas to be able to, generate electricity to the various parts of the nation. So I just hope that it will not become a routine that will always have excuses why we are unable to reach particular targets to be able to generate electricity, and still in relation to why the electricity workers had to go on strike. Even though they have suspended the strike, saying that they're giving the federal government next 2 weeks. And we know the way things are twisted, because if you should take an example of the Academic Staff Union, it was as a result of a warning strike, and before we realize it has now gotten to over 6 months right now. So we just hope that something will be done. It will not just be lip service, but that it will be back up with actions.
Yes, Elia, I would like to see that we, as individuals, we should not be quick to speak. We should not be quick to give out promises, especially in times where people are going through different situations, and people are eager for things to be fixed right by all means and with all it takes for everything to just move on well. I remember vividly when we had the promise that light will be restored back, the grid will be restored back by the month of July. We saw comments of people, individuals, saying we've had these promises, and we even saw where Atiku gave his own promise on when he emerged as the president, how he's going to work on the power sector. We saw that of Tinubu also saying how they are going to work on the power sector, and we saw what the federal government said by July they're going to restore all the gridlock that have collapsed, and we'll experience lights without interruption. And now we see excuses now on why it cannot happen. Before you can give out all those promises, make your findings right. Look out for ways that by that time you've promised Nigerians that everything will be accurate by such time, so that we will not have issue of going back and forth saying you promised us light by so time, and now we are seeing excuses. Nigerians are tired of excuses. It's not welcoming any longer all these excuses. We just want things to be done right. Why not, make your findings right and say, by December we are going to work on all these things. Then you put all the necessary measures you need to invest in that sector to see that it works accurately. That other than giving out, say, by July, and people are expecting, July, we're in the month of July and nothing is happening. And now we're in August and we're still experiencing this blackout. That is why I said it is a good thing that they've called off the strike, but aside calling off the strike, they should just do all it takes that will not have this experience, because it was total blackout yesterday, and it is frustrating to have this. You need to do some things after work with the light, and it is not available. So it's really frustrating. But it's a good thing that it has been called off. Whatever it is that made them call off the strike, we just hope that they find a lasting solution to it. Then we should not have this issue of going back and forth on threats that we're going to go on blackout because our salaries are not paid, because we need to protest for our colleagues that are going through strike. Several things. We just need all the sectors to look out for ways they can work and thrive accurately.
Of course, Tosin, whether look at other stories still on the Daily Independent, lawmakers frustrating review of the revenue allocation. This is coming from the REMFC. The $418 million Paris Club reform. And the big story here, the governors have accused Malami of implementing a selfish agenda. The writer following that said to meet presidential candidates, corporates over the worsening economy. Lagos Blue Rain Line nears completion as engineers launch the final track beam, with the 2 sets of live-trained coaches to arrive in October. And that detail of that story can be found on page 7. We can see a picture story of the governor of Lagos together with some of the engineers and people working on the Blue Rain Line. Governor set to boost funding for primary health care delivery in states, which is very, very important. Boosting the export agri necessary to grow Nigeria's economy. This is coming from Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of Labour Party. And on blaspheming, appeal court dismisses Kanu's single plea, upholds retrial. For those who are interested, you can look that story up on page 29. And the electricity workers suspend their strike after plunging the nation into blackout. Downside of the paper, Tinubu meet Obasanjo behind closed doors, keep mum. You can read more of that story too on page 29. And that's all on the Daily Independent.
In the Matrix newspaper, no plan to remove Adamu as a national chairman. This is coming from the All Progressive Congress, as they say there is no plan to remove Abdullahi Adamu as its national chairman. The party, in a statement issued on Wednesday by its national publicity secretary, Barrister Felix Murka, said reports of the purported plan to impeach Adamu are sponsored by the opposition party. $418 million Paris Club refund. NGF fires back at Malami, says AGF's account fraudulent and self-servicing. Glazer family considering selling minority stake in Manchester United. And on 2023, Tinubu Obasanjo meets behind closed doors in Ogun. Inside Nigeria's troubled power sector, relief as electricity workers suspend strike following the federal government's intervention. Federal government reveals reasons for inability to generate 5,000 megawatts. EFCC boss urges media to shun celebration of corrupt citizens. Buhari approves establishment of 3 orthopedic hospitals in Edo, Plateau, and Taraba. But what is the essence of having these hospitals? It is good. We talk about more infrastructure in our country. It is good having this hospital, but what about the doctors that we administer treatment to people that are taken to such places? We need to even look into the sector. We see where the doctors, resident doctors, are on strike. So in as much as we have more facilities, we have more hospitals, we are having more infrastructure, we should look into the workforce also and those who are working in those sectors, because we need to make things right. We need to look into their salaries, we need to look into their arrears, their allowances, their hazard allowance, everything, all it takes so that they will go back to work, because we shouldn't have a hospital lying idle when no one is there and no doctor to even administer treatment to people, that is patients. Peter Obi meets Femi Kuti, assures him of issue-based campaign. Police vows to prosecute Buju for spitting on officer. And we have celebration of the last beam launch Lagos Rail Mass Transit Blue Line project. And that's on the front page of the Matrix newspaper.
And a New Telegraph, CBN revert interest rate on intervention loans to 9%, as 30% of forex inflow go into the fuel imports. And on telecoms, federal government targets 2025 for 80% infrastructure production. Detail found on page 25. And reps have right to the CAC, the FRS, seeking identities of coils involved in the 18.9 billion naira bush clearing contract. Detail found on page 3. And on 2023, Tinubu visit Obasanjo keeps mum. Autumn to the federal government designates Benue as mineral producing state. And on the TSA, why execution is fracked with corruption, CITM saying that as the EFCC searches the 2010 connection in 8 months. You can read more of that story on page 3 and 4. The $418 million refund, your action fraudulent, self-serving, Governor's reply Malami vows to pursue the matter to the Supreme Court and urges the federal government and ASU to shade sword on the prolonged strike. Detail found on page 3. Marketers raise the alarm over imminent fuel crisis, with more of that story found on page 4. And the federal government disburses 471.9 billion naira to state of the SFTAS. Governors to strengthen the PHC fiscal transparency, launch Leaders Challenge Fund. Detail found on page 6 and 8. And FEC approves additional 2.7 billion naira compensation for the Zugiro Power Project communities, with 766 million naira more for NDDC Forex audits. And labor to the TCN crisis, distribution loan to discuss plush to 0 megawatts on Wednesday, as electricity workers shut down the stations and the union promised to restore light. Banana Island Management alerts its residents. Detail found on page 5. And we have a study here that says the proximity to fracking site tied to childhood cancer risks. So you can get that study on page 8. And that's all on the New Telegraph newspaper.
On the Blueprint newspaper, controversies rock APC over call for Adamu's removal. No plot to sack the national chairman. This is from APC. And Tinubu visits Obasanjo. Supporters flood ex-president's residence. Federal government ASU face-off persists and electricity workers suspend strike. As TCN contravened our condition of service, we are addressing your grievances, federal government assures them. FEC okays 2.7 billion naira compensation for Zungeru project, explains power outage. States receive 471.9 billion naira under World Bank SFTA's program. EFCC records 2,210 convictions in 2022. Tax media on corrupt practices, with details on page 7 of the Blueprint newspaper. FEC approves 765 million naira for more forensic audit of NDDC. And scavengers electrocuted picking transformers cable in Osun. Blueprint award to all Kwarans. And IBB mourns Onabule, laments death on birthday. Kunle Olobondiyan, the former PDP spokesman, newspaper.
And on the Daily Trust newspaper, we have the $480 million Paris Club refund, as Governor Stako Malemi says the action fraudulent, self-serving. While Shekaru Associates failed to secure the NNPP ticket, this is coming from Kwankwaso. And Nigel Benin Republic, Togo owes Nigeria 5.8 billion naira for power in 2020. This is our own electricity workers planning to go on strike, and we're complaining that there is not enough gas to supply us light in the country. Meanwhile, we're supplying other nations. So I hope that soon, and 3 e-transmission of election result to stay. This is coming from INEC Democracy, and this is really good, just like we had it here. And the votes is still on, which will be ending tomorrow, Friday. So for those who actually have not watched the Plateau debate, I think this will be the right time for you to go watch it on Equa Television International website. It's still there on our Facebook and also on YouTube, and you can keep voting for the candidate that you think is capable of handling Plateau State. Still on Daily Trust newspaper, ISWAP adopts 6 farmers in Borno, demands 5 million naira. And NPP backs the Media Trust 2023 election debate. Secure baby and 6 female hostages in Kaduna. Strike crashes electricity grid. Unions suspend the action. And why we couldn't meet the 5,000 megawatts target since July. This is coming from the federal government. And we have a picture story here too. So you can do well to get the Daily Trust and read any of the story that is of interest to you.
On the Leadership newspaper, federal government approves additional 766 million naira for NDDC forensic audit. CSOs dismiss concern over redeployment of INEC staff, and this is as a result of election. Electricity workers call off strike after shutting down now grid. The National Union of Electricity Employees on Wednesday evening called off its nationwide strike. The union took this decision after an emergency meeting with the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige. Members of the union across the country had earlier shut down their offices, leading to power outage across the country. The news gathered that the electricity workers under NUEE and Senior Staff Association of Electricity and Allied Company, after the meeting, agreed to suspend the industrial action. The Secretary General of NUEE, Joe Ajero, while addressing newsmen after the meeting, said they have been asked. The Secretary General of the NUE, Joe Ajero, while addressing newsmen after the meeting, said they have been asked to suspend the strike action. Ajero expressed hope that the government will act in good faith on the issues in dispute, which have lingered for these years. And no plans to remove Adamu as the national chairman. This is still coming from APC. For the $480 million Paris Club refund, governors fire back at Malami, accuse him of pursuing self-interest. Frowns at media campaign by the AGF and says states will not give up until they get justice in courts. Obasanjo Tinubu hold closed-door meet in Abeokuta. Details can be found in page 19 of the Leadership newspaper. And on the inflation in the country, CBN returns interest on intervention program to 9%. For blasphemy, appeal court orders retrial of convicted Kano singer. And a picture story here, we can see the former president Olusegun Obasanjo and the All Progressive Congress presidential candidate APC standard bearer visited Obasanjo in Abeokuta, Ogun State yesterday. And we just hope that the meeting which they had behind closed door will be to the interest and even growth of the country and economy. That's all on the Leadership newspaper.
And on this day newspaper, in bid to avoid promotion interview, Electricity Union throws Nigeria into total blackout. The action triggers collapse of the national grid. The NUEE suspend the strike for 2 weeks after meeting with the federal government officials, with detail found on page 10. The federal government is saying why we can't generate the 5,000 over soon. Page 10 is, and of course, the Ogame of Ogame Atuatse III.
418 million meetings, the different governors meet and look out for ways they can be able to fund all they stand on their own and look out for ways they can have other sectors to be done the right way to be. Port tax force drives up exports by 363% in the first closed-door meeting with Obasanjo. And blackout as workers shut down the national grid. Striking workers lay siege to power ministry. Ministers locked out. And Labour Minister wades in. Strike suspended for 2 weeks. Federal government says why we can't generate the 5,000 megawatts of power. A picture story here, 19th General Assembly of the Catholic Bishops, and we can see the Plateau State Christian Association of Nigeria CAN chairman, Reverend Father Polycarp Lubo, and the Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State, and Professor Sonny Tioden, the Deputy Governor during the 19th General Assembly of the Catholic Archbishop in Nigeria. And also we have Buhari IBB Ogun State Governor mourns as Chief Duro Onabule dies at 8 schools abruptly. And details can be found in page 28. And we see the security threats now affecting even schools. We saw the way schools in Abuja had to shut down abruptly, and now we see that happening in Jigawa State of making students sit at home. That's for colleges. They should not sit at home as they're more than how they are supposed to stay, because they're supposed to have this break for just like a month. So it should not extend to more than a month. They should tackle the security issues. And even other states that they are still thriving, they're not having this security threat. They should, all schools and students are no longer safe to stay in school. But security needs to be tackled, so that we will not have colleges and even the primary, secondary schools shutting down because of this issue of insecurity. We need to put our hands in the right places to tackle this issue of insecurity. Then on PDP crisis, pressure mounts on RU to step aside as old video surfaces. Babangida at 81, your leadership governors and PDP. Kaduna locals lynch female kidnapper, and this is really good. We see where locals now are standing up and taking up to now lynch a female kidnapper. This is good. We need to be conscious. We need to be security conscious. We need our eyes even in our community level, so that we should look out for one another. This is not time for everyone to be every man for himself, but we need to look out for each other and intervene. This is also another call for the state policing also. You see, it's very important to see that even amongst the locals, there are people who have this zeal to fight this insecurity. So we should look into this. If we look into this and see ways we can have the state policing investigation, who are trying to disguise, we need to just stand at alert, and also we should report immediately when we see a singer sentenced to death. And that's all on the Vanguard newspaper.
At Jezreel, Nigeria, reps probe Agric Minister over the 18 billion naira bush clearing contract. The House of Representatives Committee on Public Accounts has commenced probe on the Ministry of Agriculture over the clearance of the 18 billion contract to first during the COVID-19 lockdown for bush clearing, land pollution, and also rate of soil. The federal government didn't deliver the 5,000 megawatts. This is coming from the minister. With FEC approved 2.74 billion nation for power project ERC. Still on Jezreel, Nigeria, federal government raises fresh fraud allegations against the PNID. You can read more of that on page 8. And 174 stranded Nigerians return to Libya. No plans to remove Adamu. This is coming from the APC. 2023, you can read more of that on page 4. And Jigawa government down of school over insecurity. And at 81, IBB stand for Progressive Nigeria, says the Northern Governors. The Northern Governors Forum has congratulated the former military president, General Ibrahim Babangida, on his 81st birthday, saying he is a leader who has and progressive despite his challenges. And you can read more of that on page 2. We have a picture story here where we can see the Minister of Health. We can see the Chairman, Nigerian Governors Forum, Ekiti State Governors Kayode Fayemi, the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Abubakar. We can see the Sokoto State Governor, Amiu Tambuwa, the representative of Nigeria, and also in a meeting on the Forum for the Primary Health Care at the Presidential Villa in Abuja yesterday. That's all on Al Jazeera Nigerian newspaper. But before you move, Tosin, I would like us to take a break where we can open the phone lines and let us hear what your views are concerned, and also looking at some of the money, the Paris fund. What do you have to say if you feel that the minister is actually being selfish, and in general, actually, if he's been selfish or he's acting in the interests of Nigeria? I'd like to hear what you feel about that. So do not go anywhere. We'll be right back after this time out. Welcome back. It's lovely to still have you tuned on to the television, and we have been looking at various stories that have been trending, why the federal government is unable to deliver the 5,000 megawatts, the suspension from the electricity workers, and ultimately.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you, Tosin. And right at this moment, we'll open the phone line. So please call us and let us. And also remember, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. So please do well to drop your comment in relation to what is happening in the nation, and we'll read it real time. Let's move to other papers, Tosin.
Okay, I'll take the Nigerian Tribune. 2.5 billion naira, not 18.9 billion naira, was spent to clear 3,200 hectares in 8 states. This is coming from the Agric-Marketers. Details can be found in page 4. Troops dislodge more bandits camp, rescue 6 hostages in Kaduna.
Okay, sorry to caller from Bini. Good morning. Yeah, you. Just move away from your TV set. Okay, we would love you to call us back, please.
And governors blast Malami over $418 million Paris Club refund. He claims fraudulent self-servicing will not stand. This is the governors insisting. For security threats, government closes schools, students stranded, parents G3 in Jigawa. Lagos under partial lockdown. This is coming from the Commissioner of Police. An appeal court orders retrial of Kano singer sentenced to death for blasphemy. Akeredolu offers 50,000 naira to Ondo residents who volunteer information on criminal.
Okay, our caller is back again. Hello. Please move away from your TV set so we can actually hear
hello.
you. Morning.
Good morning, everybody there. My name is Ugote Baretus. I'm calling from the Republic.
Okay.
First of all, I'm greeting you people here today. I'm saying that I'm greeting you because of the work you are doing. Keep on doing your good work there. But I'm also begging you, you journalists, you know that this television is a Christian television. So if you people will help the masses in Nigeria to tell the masses things how you see it. So that, because by telling masses things how you see it, we help them. No, you journalists, you go everywhere. You go where the politicians doing their meeting. Then you go where everything is happening on there. If you come back in the studio, you will tell the masses how you see those things there. So that it will help the masses to know how they will live in Nigeria. And about Obasanjo and Tinubu, we don't know whether They are selfish things. They are discussing the benefits of Nigeria. They are discussing it. Only God knows. But everybody is saying God help them, that God help Nigeria. We will help ourselves before God will help us. If we did not tell ourselves the truth to the politicians, the new people, the journalists, God will not help us. We will help ourselves first before God will help us. And thank you, people. Continue doing your good work, but always stand on the truth. Say something how you see it outside, so that the masses, you will save the masses. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that contribution. Thanks so much. Tosin, please.
Still on the Nigerian Tribune, all electricity workers suspend strike while we can't generate 5,000 megawatts. And FEC okays 2.7 billion naira for Zungeru hydropower project. Tinubu in closed-door meeting with Obasanjo, and Akeredolu offers 50,000 naira to Ondo residents who volunteer information on criminals. Two picture stories on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Do well to visit to look out for stories that interest you.
On Nigerian News Direct on 2023, Tinubu in closed-door meeting with Obasanjo. The IGP honors the SP Daniel for rejecting $200,000 bribe. And the federal government 70% broadband penetration target by 2025 achievable. This is coming from MTN. And the electricity grids collapse to worsen over the NNPC cut in gas financing. Detail found on page 2. The Lagos Blue Line rail nears completion as engineers launch the final track beam. TED Fund set to fund facilities for promoting diaspora exploits. And we have two picture stories as well on the Nigerian News Direct, so do well to visit the paper and read any of the story that is of interest to you.
On the Guardian newspaper, restructuring won't lead to secession, says Okoti. An EFCC raid on BDC operators behind Naira rise against dollars, says Bauer. An antimicrobial agents for treating drug-resistant TB enter clinical trials. Rivers women protest against destruction of farmlands by suspected herders. And details can be found in page 29. The nationwide blackout 3 billion naira lost to TCN strike as grid crashes. Electricity workers suspend the industrial action. And 2 discos issues notice on darkness, urge communities to safeguard the installations. While we can't generate the 5,000 megawatts of power, this is coming from the Minister of Power. 8 years after leading Buhari to Obasanjo, Tinubu meets ex-president for own ambition. Lagos Blue Rail Line nears completion as engineers launch final track beam. And this can be found on the Metro page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. That's all on the Guardian.
The Punch newspaper, how transnational firms wiggle Nigerians or others for over $3 million. You can read more of that on page 29. And the electricity workers call off strike, businesses count losses. And we have the Gencos, Discos, owned banks, 860, I read that story again. Jescos, Discos, owned banks, 836 billion naira amid the crisis. And the $418 million refund, governors knock Malemi over the commission. Women not created to be irrelevant. This is coming from the first female Methodist bishop. The big story which is on PDP crisis. Peace threatened, Wiki articles men disagree over Ayu. Hello, Ambassador from Kafanchan. Good morning. Hello, Ambassador Godwin. Can you hear us?
Morning.
Morning.
TV, good morning, and her colleague in the house. Good morning.
Morning.
Such a wonderful moment being with you guys. You guys are doing a good work at the studio, keeping us updated about Nigeria and around group at large. Very
Hello, Ambassador, are you still there?
the issue of the presidential campaign that Tinubu is up to with Obasanjo. This is one of the strategy of election, and it's a thing that concerns me a lot, that with all of these issues that have been going on around in Nigeria, politics is still one key thing that has been breaking the people and making Nigerians feel we are right now. It is high time that citizens begin to engage governance for the interest of our future than allow politicians dictate for Nigeria. There must be that break, because for me there is no nothing. There is nothing about it that should be a concern to Nigerians, and Nigerians should know that we own Nigeria, not a political few or the political allies. So Nigerians should begin to define the way Nigeria should grow, rather than allow the political class dictate for us how our future should be. It's high time that citizens begin to make sure that we don't get distracted by political gestures that have not taken us anywhere. It's high time we take governance back to our domain and begin to discuss this and look ahead onto doing what we're supposed to do and engage this government accordingly. Nobody defines politics, nobody defines our progress except us. And if the people are willing to change the situation of the country, then that will be achievable. Not allowing politicians to take us afar from the main goal that we all hope for. I pray that Nigeria gets better. I pray that citizens wake up and do the needful, and I pray that God will continue to bless Equa TV. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. I agree totally with you. We need to take the politics from the local level everywhere. Still on the Punch newspaper, the big story: PDP crisis, peace threatened. Wike Atiku's men disagree over Ayu. The rider following that, Ayu must go for talks to proceed. This is coming from the governor's men. Ayu won't resign, says the PDP team. It seems devil has entered PDP, says George, as negotiators disagree over the venue. Go to your village. Elections are not won in Abuja hotels, Wike tell candidates. Downside of the paper, APC supporters hold carnival as Tinubu meets Obasanjo. And ASU begins consultation on their next move, and I hope this will bring out positive results. We have Northern Youth Protest Insecurity in Abuja, with detail found on page 10. Great grandma collapses, dies while climbing the Lagos Bridge. This is really a sad one. You can read more of that on page 4 and 5. And that's all on the Punch newspaper.
For the Daily Sun, IPOB alleges indiscriminate arrest of members. Kanu lawyers warn against consequences of disobeying the UN's demand. APC dismisses plot to impeach the national chairman. And governors draws blood over $418 million Paris Club refund. Call Malami liar. Claim minister's action self-serving. Seek end to federal government and ASU's rifts. Lagos launches final track beam for Blue Line Rail, and electricity workers suspend strike after parley with the federal government as bipartite committee agrees to resolve issues in 2 weeks. Consumers groan, discos count losses. For blood services, federal government gives unregistered health facilities 30 days ultimatum. Tinubu meets Obasanjo. Peter Obi visits Femi Kuti. And EFCC goes after forex manipulators, secures 2,210 convictions in 7 months. Buhari, Ibrahim Babangida, Abiodun, the son, others mourn as veteran journalist Onabuli dies. Lagos under partial lockdown. This is from the Commissioner of Police, still on insecurity in Lagos State, as troop dislodge bandit camp, rescue 6 hostages in Kaduna. Sheet swords in interest of PDP, Bode George tells Atiku and Wiki. And that's all on the Daily Sun.
The world of business from Business Day newspaper. UK-US economy crutch threatening remittance into Nigeria. Detail found on page 30. Blackout as electricity workers shun transmission stations. And how technology help in Kenya poll. This is coming from Citizens. The big story on the front page of Business Day says vessel seized in the Guinea spotlights oil theft in Nigeria. And the last story I'll be reading, food inflation to worsen as insecurity bars farmers from harvest. Detail found on page 2. And I think we need to call the attention of the various states to look into securing the life of farmers, because we know it's August. That is when harvest will be taking place. It's one thing for you to be able to plant, but it's another thing for you to, harvest your crops. We saw where in a state here in Nigeria, there are rivers, especially where they had to, protest concerning herdsmen actually destroying some of their crops. So I think it's important that we look into securing that, because we're looking at food crisis. Then I think it's important that the lives of our farmers are safe. Let it not be the situation where there was a time that farmers were saying that they did not seek for permission before going to harvest their crops, and that's why their life is at stake. So I hope something will be done about that. And that's all on the Business Day newspaper.
And for first news, we have no plan to sack Adumu as the chairman. Lambas PDP says idle speculators can distract us. Details of Tinubu Obasanjo closed-door meeting emerge as APC flag bearer, the ex-president, hold a meeting. Exclude Sanwo-Olu, Gbajabiamila, Osoba, Akande, Ribadu, others in Tinubu's entourage. Party supporters besiege Obasanjo's residence in solidarity with APC presidential candidate. Wike won't leave malaria-stricken PDP for cancerous APC. This is Ola Olobondinyo. Electricity workers suspend nationwide strike for 2 weeks. As Ikoyi collapse building, 15 subscribers drag Lagos government to court. We have a caption saying deadlock, strike not ending soon, federal government not serious. This is from ASU, says government team came with nothing to latest meeting, and situation now even worse than when we started. This is from the union. Peter Obi needs 50 billion naira to defeat Tinubu. This is from Fayoshe. And fear of attack, Jigawa shuts public primary secondary schools. Troops raid bandit camp, rescue 6 hostages in Kaduna. And Lagos Blue Rail Line, Sanwo-Olu commit contractors to December deadline. And for the $418 million Paris.
Okay. Hello, Father Benjamin from River Tori Tosin.
God bless you, my dear sister.
Thank you so much,
I want
Father.
to comment on Masari's statement that APC will surely win, not minding the challenges, what he calls challenges. That is what we normally see in this country. Masari was once the Speaker, National Assembly. He retired with all the lagis. They are paying him for life. And he switched over as a governor now of Katsina. And you can see this old human being destroying the entire fabric of the economy of this nation. And they don't want the younger one to come up to at least revitalize our economy. They don't have any sense of decency, and they don't have any concern Did they think that we, the younger one, we are fools? Well, it is left for the youth of this country, you and I, to decide who will rule us. Either we allow these evil people to continue to perpetuate themselves in office, or we use our PVC and vote them out. Like as I said yesterday, this is not the time of talking about this is a tribe where I come from, or this is a country and we are the one that will pay for it. It is high time we use every available legal means to stand out against them and to force them out of office. Look at them. Look at their photographs. None of them is less than 80 years or more than that. Spent out human beings, and they continue to cling to power, to ruin generation unborn. So we are praying that God of heaven will touch the youth and the adults of this nation to open their eyes and allow God to work out to sweep them off. See Tinubu going to visit Basanjo. I hope you saw the photograph there. Are these human beings, can they take care of themselves ordinarily, let alone taking care of this country? It's left for us. If we want to continue to slump down, and then they continue to call it challenge. What challenges? Now we heard that this bandit kidnapped some people. Where are the security agencies? They ask us to register names so that they can trace these criminals. Why are they not being able to trace them? They will call the parents of those children now to negotiate for money. Can they use their mechanism to dictate where they are and leave this thing in the board? Is it not dirty for us to be hearing how many people that are being kidnapped and demanded for ransom every day? How do we attract investors to come into this country? How? If you are an investor, will you like to come here to put your money and invest? So we are not fools. Unless we want to continue to perpetuate ourselves in this effort, then let them go ahead and go along tribal lines. See somebody who wants to rule Nigeria, Tinubu. I mean, are we not saying, are there no reasonable people capable of handling this country? May God save us.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Father Benjamin. Thank you to all our callers for calling us. Thank you, Tosi, for doing this with me.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to even those that were expecting comments that didn't come. Thank you so much to everybody. Until we come your way again tomorrow, do have a blessed day ahead.